Hi, everybody. Mr. Linehan here. When us Algebra 1 teachers had a meeting and hashed out what we're going to do here these last 4 or 5 weeks, it was decided that I was going to take care of multiplying binomials. So we have an example here. I'm going to run you through 7 examples of multiplying binomials. Um, 5 of them are going to be fairly typical, and then I'm going to show you 2 special cases. I'm also going to show you 2 different techniques, not for every single one, but for the first couple, I'll show you 2 different techniques, kind of the older way and the way that we'd kind of recommend that you start attacking these problems, because you'll see that it shows back up again later on in the curriculum, later on in your mathematical careers. It's more effective to do it the second way. So what we have here is we have 2 binomials being multiplied. I know that x plus 3 is a binomial and x plus 2 is a binomial. How do I know that? Because there are 2 terms inside those parentheses. You are adding or subtracting 2 monomials. Therefore, it becomes a binomial. Prefix bi means 2. And I know I'm multiplying these 2 because there's nothing in between those 2 sets of parentheses. If there was a plus sign, if there was a minus sign, this would be like combining like terms that Mrs. Hull showed you last week. This is not one of those cases. So the first technique that I want to show you and talk about is the technique that I've learned and a lot of your math teachers probably learned, which is called the FOIL method. FOIL is spelled F-O-I-L. And the reason the technique was called the FOIL method is because the FOIL spells out the order in which you're supposed to multiply these terms. The F stands for first, the O stands for outer, the I stands for inner, and the L stands for last. First, outer, inner, last. So when you go and multiply these things, you're supposed to multiply the first term by the first term. So the first term in the first set of parentheses is x. You multiply that by the first term in the second set of parentheses. So the first would be x times x. The outer terms would be the 2 terms on the outside. So you multiply x times 2. And they're positive, so there's a plus sign in between. Now we take the 2 terms on the inside. That's 3 and x. So I take 3 times x. Those are both positive, so there's a plus sign. And then I take my last terms inside the parentheses. That's 3 times 2. And again, positive, so that's a plus sign. So first, outer, inner, last is called foiling. It's basically a fancy version of the distributive property. You have to distribute the x to both terms here, and then the 3 to both terms here. I've had students in the past kind of call this the lobster claw method, which you can probably see why. In case you can't, let me color this thing in red. As you can see, when you draw those arcs in there, it kind of looks like a lobster claw. I don't know. That's what they came up with. So now back to the problem where we clean this thing up. X times x, I know, is x squared. When I multiply 2 terms, I add the, or 2 common terms, I add the exponents. Plus 2 times x is 2x. Plus 3 times x is 3x. Plus 3 times 2, which is 6. I can see that my middle 2 terms are like terms, so I combine those. So x squared drops down. 2x plus 3x is 5x. And 6 does not have a like term. So my final answer, x plus 3 times x plus 2, the final form is x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, so that's kind of the older version of things. The other way that I want to show you how to do this is what we call the box method. And it's a very creative name because you put the terms inside a box. So what you want to do is, in this case, we have a binomial times a binomial, so you need a 2 by 2 box. So I draw a box that's 2 by 2. Doesn't matter where you put these things, but you want to put each term of the binomial inside one of those, or excuse me, outside one of those windows. So I'm going to take this one and put it here. I'm going to put x and positive 3 here. And I'm going to take this one and put it here. I'm going to put x and positive 2 here. So now you can see where things kind of line up. You have to fill the inside of the grid with the products of each of those terms. So I know that x times x is x squared. I know that positive 3 times x is 3x. I know that x times 2 is 2x. And I know 3 times 2 is 6. So now you take these terms out of the boxes and you write them as the official answer. Always start with, I usually start with the top left-hand corner. Most of the time you'll start with the top left-hand corner. X squared. I can see that 2x and 3x are like terms, so I combine those into 5x. And then 6 does not have a like term, so my final answer is 5x plus 6. So as you can see, we got the exact same answer. Either way you do it, x squared plus 5x plus 6 doesn't matter if you FOIL, and it doesn't matter if you use the box method. Let's take a look at another one. I threw a negative sign here at you. So if we take a look at this one, I'll FOIL first. So using my FOIL technique, first is x times x. Outer is x times 7, so plus x times 7. My inner would be negative 4 times x, and my last would be negative 4 times 7. Okay, clean it up. X times x is x squared, plus 7x, minus 4x, minus 28. The reason I wanted to show you this one is because that negative sign tends to screw people up. Treat 4 as negative 4. Don't look at it as x minus 4. Look at it as x and negative 4 with it. Okay, so now we just clean these things up. X squared does not have a like term. 7x minus 4x gets me 3x. And then negative 28 does not have a like term. So my final answer, x squared plus 3x minus 28. Let me show that to you with the box method. Let's see if I can fit it down here. So I draw my 2 by 2 box. I've got my x and negative 4. I've got my x and positive 7. X times x I know is x squared. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. 7 times x is 7x. And negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. Start in the top left-hand corner, that's x squared. I've got two like terms here. Negative 4x plus 7x is plus 3x. And negative 28 is negative 28. Again, showing we get the exact same answer. The technique that we recommend that you focus on is that box method. You're going to see why later on, whenever we get to it next year or whatever the heck's going to happen. When factoring, the box method just makes factoring a little bit easier. So we recommend that you get comfortable with the box method. It's not required, it's up to you which technique you're more comfortable with. But we would highly recommend that you get comfortable with that box method just because it'll make your life a little bit easier later on, we think. All right, let's take a look at another one. Now I've thrown some coefficients out in front of x here. It doesn't change. I'm not going to do the FOIL method anymore, just in the interest of time. So we're going to take a look at the box method from here on out. It's another binomial times binomial. So I draw my 2 by 2 box. I've got 3x plus 2, and I've got 5x minus 7. I could put 3x plus 2 up top and 5x minus 7 on the left. It doesn't matter. Feel free to pause this video if you want to try this on your own, and then we can compare at the end. So I multiply here, first row by first column. 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 2 times 5x is 10x. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21x. And 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Take a look. 15x squared does not have a like term, so I'll start there. I see that 10x and negative 21x are like terms. That's negative 11x. And negative 14 does not have a like term. So there's my final answer, 15x squared minus 11x minus 14. All right, let's crank this thing up a notch. Now I threw not only coefficients out in front of x, but I also put a variable with that first x. Nothing changes in terms of the technique that you use. So I draw my 2 by 2 box. I'm going to change things up on you. I'm going to let's put 5x squared minus 9 up top. And I'm going to put 2x and 5 here. It's a positive 5. Okay, so I multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. X times x squared. I've got 1x here, 2x's here. That's a total of 3 x's, so it's x to the third. 2x times negative 9 gets me negative 18x. And 5 times 5x squared. 5 times 5 is 25. X squared times nothing is x squared. And then 5 times negative 9 is negative 45. Okay, so got my multiplication done. Now I just need to take these terms out of the boxes here and put them in standard form. Start with the highest exponent first. When you take these out, it doesn't matter how you take them out, but your final answer should be in standard form. Start with the highest exponent and work your way down from left to right. So I see my biggest exponent is 3. 10x to the third does not have a like term, so that goes first. My next biggest exponent is 2 here with 25x squared. My next biggest exponent is x has an exponent of 1. So that's negative 18x goes next. And then negative 45 goes last. In this case, there are no like terms for me to combine. I am done with this problem. All right, another one that cranks it up a notch here. Throw some negative signs at you just to kind of see how this works. So if I take my negative signs here, make sure that they go along with them when you write these inside the box. So I'm going to go negative 2x here, positive 9, 9x here, minus 2. I multiply by my columns and rows. I know 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. X times x is x squared. 9 times 9 is 81. x times nothing is x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Nothing times x is x. And negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. I take these things out of the boxes. I start with negative 18x squared. I see I have like terms here. 4 plus 81 is 85x. And then negative 18 does not have a like term. Okay, so that takes care of the 5 that I wanted to show you. Now I want to take a look at 2 special cases. Nothing changes in terms of the technique, but we're going to see what happens here when certain things are thrown at you. So here we go. I've got x plus 3 times x minus 3. Now what you see here is we have the exact same terms inside. The only difference is the symbol in between them. The first one is x plus 3, the next one is x minus 3. So again, nothing changes in terms of the technique. X plus 3, x minus 3. Multiply x times x is x squared. 3 times x is 3x. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So when I take these things out of the boxes, x squared goes first. But if you see here, when we combine our like terms here on this diagonal, they end up canceling each other out. You can write them if you want. Maybe you didn't notice that those two things would cancel each other out. That's fine. But as you can see here, these two terms end up canceling, and you're just left with x squared minus 9. Whenever you have this example up here where the terms are the same, but the symbol in between them is different, that's going to always end up canceling out that middle term. So that's just a special case that I wanted to show you. In case anybody gets really, really comfortable with this and really fast with it, you can save yourself some time. If you don't want to worry about that, you just want to plug it into the box, simplify it, and see, oh yeah, my middle term canceled out. That's fine too. Doesn't matter. Last example I want to show you is an example here of where you take a binomial and you square it. So if we take a look at 2x plus 7 squared, a lot of students will just try to take that exponent 2 and distribute it through. So 2x squared is 4x squared plus 49. I'm done. No, 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 no. You cannot do that. The question you have to ask yourself is, what does it mean to square something? Well, to square something, that means you multiply it by itself. So I need to take this binomial and I need to write it twice. I need to multiply it by itself. Hey, when you multiply a binomial by itself, it's now binomial multiplication. And we can use the box method that we've been using this entire time. Now, as you notice, you might be thinking, well, this is like the last one where it's 2x plus 7 is the same terms inside the parentheses. But this is different from the last one because these signs are the same. So the middle term is not going to cancel out here. You got 2x positive 7. You got 2x and positive 7. Multiply here. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. 2x times 7 is 14x. 2x times 7 is 14x. And 7 times 7 is 49. Write this thing in standard form. 4x squared goes first. I've got like terms here. 14x plus 14x is 28x. And then plus 49 for my final answer. So again, doesn't matter to us if you use FOIL or if you use the box method, totally up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. We would highly recommend that you use the box method because it'll make your life easier a little bit later on. But hopefully you have found this to be a beneficial explanation here. This is binomial multiplication. Thanks, everybody.